Hi guys, my name is Brian Leni of Junior Stockman Premium. Today with me I have Adam Spencer, VP Corporate Dev at Montage Gold. Adam, it's great to have you. Why don't you start off with an intro to the company?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brian. And look, it's been great to come here to the Metals Investor Forum, so appreciate the invitation. So Montage, we are a exploration development company with assets in the Ivory Coast. We have a very strong team, a very strong backing. Our team is made up of the majority of the executives that grew and sold Redback Mining in 2010 for $7 billion US in West Africa. Subsequent to that, they did a major discovery in Sudan, again, built that company up, sold it, made investors a lot of money. So that's the team that's running Montage. What we have in terms of the asset is the Kone Gold Project. Right now, it is a feasibility level, 3.4 million ounce reserve, 15-year mine life, significant production scale of between 250 to 300,000 ounces of gold production per year. And in the last 12 months, we've undergone a significant transformation with a 1,000 square kilometer property purchase from Barrick and Endeavour, bringing them on as shareholders and giving us access to dozens of high-grade, drill-ready targets that are ultimately going to make the Kone Gold Project something we think is fantastic and would fit well within the portfolio of any of the mid-tiers and some majors that are either operating in or looking at West Africa right now.
Right on. Yeah, there's a lot of good points you brought up there. Let's start with that deal that you made in the north to consolidate that block of land. It's a huge piece of land, some great high-grade targets. So can you take us through the details of that deal and how it's led into the strategic ownership of Montage?
Yeah, sure. So I'll take a step back. The original Kone permit was actually pegged by Redback Mining. So our president, Hugh Stewart, who was VP Exploration for Redback, at the time, he was having tremendous success growing the ounces at Tasiast. And all told, he discovered, I think, 20 million ounces of gold there, which is a major catalyst for that takeover. But before the sale, he was given free rein to go anywhere he wanted to in West Africa with the criteria of finding a Redback scale target. And so that brought him to Cote d'Ivoire, and that is what led to him pegging the ground, which was the original Kone permit. They did initial work there back in 2010. Obviously, Kinross bought them out that year. Everything was swallowed up in the Kinross. There was no opportunity for a spin out at that time, but Hugh and Rick always stayed on top of what was going on with the Kone project in Cote d'Ivoire because they wanted to make sure that it was held together, with the hope of eventually buying it back. As I mentioned, they did go into Sudan. They created a company called Orca Gold, made a multi-million ounce discovery there. And while they were advancing that project, brought Kone into Orca. Subsequent to that, they decided to spin it out, and that was what created Montage. So, my point being is that they've always known that the Kone has significant potential as a mine. But in parallel with that, they also knew that to make it something truly world-class, the ground to the north, which was at the time held by Randgold, and then formed into a JV with Randgold and Endeavour, obviously subsequent to that, Barrick taking over Randgold. They always knew that that was going to be kind of the blue sky potential, where Kone was critical mass in a district really without critical mass, and the exploration ground called Mankono had all of numerous areas of historic high grade work, whether it would be soil samples, trenching, pitting, some drilling, all told probably 20 distinct areas. And the objective has been for years to bring that into Montage, consolidate this district for the first time, and explore it as a single project. And things take time. I mean, trying to get a deal done with Barrick and previously Randgold, it's really on their timetable, not ours. And so we're very patient. And that patience, I think, will reward us in the long run. We entered into an agreement with them back in June of 2022 to purchase this ground in a combination of cash and equity deal. We raised money at that time. The major closing condition of that transaction was the reissue of fresh permits covering the ground. And that was all done. We closed the deal at the end of November 22, and we were drilling it immediately, effectively, with rigs on the ground, drilling several target areas starting in December. So, even though we signed the deal back in June, really started negotiating it back in February, over a year ago now. We've only just started drilling, so we're starting to scratch the surface for the first time. We're having some great results, and I believe we will continue to.
Great. Yeah. And so talking about this exploration program you're currently in, so what is, I guess, your goal? Like, what are you guys trying to systematically do?
Yeah, so what we're looking for is very simple: high-grade satellite pits. And high grade to us, given the attributes of Kone, high grade is really anything that's 1.5 grams projecting to surface in a satellite pit with sufficient scale to justify mining and trucking. Our land position is large. All told, it's 2,200 square kilometers, but all within truckable distance around the Kone deposit. And the Kone deposit itself, its average grade is just under 0.7 of a gram. And by no means is that a high grade deposit. But because the Kone deposit is very large and continuous, true widths 250 meters, essentially continuously mineralized hanging wall to footwall across that width, you can use large scale mining equipment, lowering your mining cost. The strip ratio is less than 1:1. The rock hardness is 11 kilowatt hours per ton, which means lower power requirements compared to other projects. And so, on its own as a standalone, it's a robust economic mine that you would see being built. But knowing that we've got high grade targets immediately to the north within truckable distance, it's just something that you want to optimize the project, make it even better. And that's always been part of the strategy. It's just a function of timing to bring it together. So for the next, call it 12 months, or remainder of 2023, the plan is quite simple. We're going to be drilling at least 40,000 meters, testing as many of these targets as we can with the aim of bringing in a significant inventory of satellite pits at high grade that will then be fed into a revised feasibility study for the Kone project as a whole for the first time.
Right. That's excellent. So you're going to have, you've already got the mass. You said around 3.5 million ounces in reserves already. Mm-hmm. And then with these satellite pits, higher grade, you can definitely see how that's going to feed, or I can see how that's going to feed into the NPV, especially early on in the mine life.
Yeah, it'll be a combination of bringing material in early on, and then also just having high grades to sequence into the mill, throughout its life. Right. And, without getting into the numbers too much, because, there's a lot of work to be done. The math is pretty simple when you think about the average grade of Kone being below 0.7 of a gram, 1.5 grams to 2 grams, we're talking 3x the average reserve grade. Right. So, those ounces will be incredibly economic and also add, additional production to the project. I mean, there's one high grade resource that we've already published on a deposit called Gbongogo. It's 350,000 ounces. Doesn't sound big, but it's 2.1 grams. Right. That deposit alone, if we were to simply sequence it in over the first 9 or 10 years, adds 30,000 ounces of production roughly, and takes the project from, say, a 260,000 ounce producer to almost a 300,000 ounce producer. And so we're already in the ballpark in terms of scale that would matter to a mid-tier or a major, but with, I think, a moderate degree of exploration success on this ground, this definitively becomes, something that's a strong tier 2, if not, even a tier 1 project.
Right on. Yeah. You brought some excellent points, and I think that Montage is going to be right up there with those most attractive assets in Africa, if not globally. And I see how it fits in, and definitely warrants investors taking a close look at the opportunity in Montage. Remember, Kone, with their definitive feasibility study they released last year, at $1,800 gold at after-tax NPV at a 5% discount, we're talking around $1 billion in NPV. Considering they're selling for about 110 million fully diluted, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, especially with the exploration potential mixed in. Thanks very much, guys.